First, I start out by brushing up my eyebrow hairs. That way I can trim the hair that sticks out on top a little bit easier. And then before I filmed the video, I went ahead and plucked the extra hair so that I get a really clean look when I fill in my brows. The next thing I do is apply my foundation. Here I'm using MAC Pro Longwear in the shade NC40, but I had to mix it up with a little bit of Makeup Forever, the Ultra HD shade Y445, and that's just to help even out the color and make it match my skin a little better, because the lady at the desk gave me Pro Longwear instead of Studio Fix, and I usually use Studio Fix in the same shade NC40, but it looks like MAC Pro Longwear is a little bit lighter than the Studio Fix one. So I'm really good with improvising, and that's usually what I do if I don't have the correct shading whenever it comes to my foundation and my concealer. I know a lot of you are probably wondering why I'm using my finger to apply foundation, but I find it blends easier with my skin when I just use my finger. I don't really like to use any brushes or anything when it comes to applying my foundation. I feel like it really melts into my skin whenever I use my fingers. Now it's time for my favorite part. You guessed it, brows. I personally feel that brows are the most important part of your face. They're either going to make you or break you. So this is where I apply most of my focus whenever I do a full face. I'm using Tarte Amazonian Clay Waterproof Brow Mousse in the shade Medium Brown. As you can see, I start with lighter strokes on the inner brow, and then I gradually apply more pressure once I get to the midsection and the outer section to darken those areas to get the ombre effect. On the intersections of my brows, I like to use upward strokes to make them look more natural and make the product come out looking more hair-like instead of dark and unnatural. I went ahead and skipped through all of the tedious parts of me fixing up my eyebrows. Here I'm brushing up mostly the inner corners to give it that hair-like look and the ombre effect. Some days I just do not feel like my brows are dark enough, so I'll go in with a dark eyeshadow, mostly like a really dark brown eyeshadow, and on the mid to outer parts of my eyebrow I apply the dark eyeshadow. to clean up those brows. I use Hard Candy Glamouflage Heavy Duty Concealer in the shade Tan to clean up my eyebrows, and I clean up underneath the bottom and the top, and I usually just let that fade into each other, and that really sharpens that ombre effect. Using concealer will definitely help your eyebrows look a lot more clean and give it that extra pop. I find that if I made an eyebrow a little bit too thick, I can go in with concealer and it really helps to even them out. Now you just blend out that concealer. Here I just took a little more of the Glamouflage concealer and spread it all over my lid to use it as a primer for my eyeshadow. Here I'm taking a white or beige colored eyeshadow to set the concealer, because anytime you use primer or concealer, you always want to set it to create a solid foundation for your makeup. And it also helps for whenever you want to use colors on your lid to create a more vibrant effect. Now for the fun part. Here's where you can really get creative and express yourself. Now, eyeshadow can be tricky and complex, but that's the beauty of it. You can literally take a bunch of colors and blend them together and create a beautiful masterpiece. Today I'm using my Fortune palette by ColourPop. I'm a huge fan of this palette. I really love the pigments and the consistency of the shadow. It really complements and blends well with my skin. I did a couple of more layers in the same shade off camera just because I didn't want y'all to have to sit through that. Now I'm going back in with a little bit darker shade, kind of a reddish tone in the mid section of my lid. Right now I'm going back in with my Tarte Shape Tape Concealer because I find that it gives a more seamless effect whenever you apply it right before you put on your finishing powder. Right now my favorite finishing powder is NYX HD finishing powder because literally it has no flashback. Whenever I've used it, and I've used it for about a year now, it's literally beat out a bunch of products that I've used before. So my go-to is gonna be the NYX HD finishing powder in the color Banana. I know you're technically supposed to use like a setting powder, but I'm not a huge fan of any setting powders that I've come across. So yeah, as I said it before, this is what I use to bake and to set. can go ahead and brush off that excess powder. I personally like a more defined contour, so I'm going back in with my butter bronzer to deepen my contour. Then you just blend it out to kind of give it an airbrush effect. I'm a huge believer in the little details. I feel that the little details really make everything pop. Like, your makeup could just be so bland and you'll add a little something to accent it, and girl. I've always wondered why us girls always make this face while applying like eyeliner and eyelashes. It just really cracks me up. Some of my accentuating glam was wiped off a little bit, so I'm just going back in and retouching. A lot of times some excess eyeshadow will get onto your eyelashes, so this is why I'm going back in with my mascara just to kind of hide that and help my natural eyelashes blend better with my falsies. Now it's time for highlight. I like my highlight to be extra poppin', so I'm going back in with the gold eyeshadow out of my Fortune ColourPop palette. Don't get me wrong, I love a light colored nude lipstick, but I have to go in with a darker lip just to kind of make it blend a little better with my skin. By the way, I am using the Morphe lips. One of them, the lighter shade, was Wifey, and that's a matte lip. And then the darker shade that I'm outlining with is a cream lip, and that is in the color Whipped. Wifey was just a little too light for me, so I'm going back in with my MAC matte lipstick in the shade Whirl, and I'm just lightly applying it throughout my lip. Now I'm going through and straightening my hair to get ready for the day. I use the Chase the Comb method. And then I follow it with my straightener. Thank you all for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel.